Good morning. I am Anisha Walcott of the National Training Agency, and a warm welcome to our viewing and listening audience to this esteemed panel discussion entitled The Trainer's Role in Transforming Our Caribbean Youth. Today, we are here in commemoration of World Youth Skills Day, a global celebration of the crucial role of skills development in empowering and enabling the youth to contribute effectively to society. Through this panel discussion, we aim to shed light on the significant role trainers play in shaping the lives of and future of our Caribbean youth. Let me introduce our esteemed panelists this morning. First up, we have Bevon Chadel Charles, an entrepreneur of Grenada. Bevon Charles is a visionary leader who is passionate about agriculture, community development, technology, youth, women empowerment, and gender equality. She is the founder of Akata Farms, a sustainable farm that leverages technology and innovation to transform agriculture and food systems in her community and beyond. Her innovative approach to agriculture has earned her several awards and various opportunities to share her story, passion, and vision for Caribbean sustainability on the global stage. Bevon's passion for agriculture led her to launch several sustainable development projects and enterprises. As a self described passionate advocate for community development, she founded the Academy of People's Empowerment, which is an NGO focused on community empowerment and opportunity creation. As a climate enthusiast, she actively involved in initiatives that promote sustainable agriculture practices, and her work has earned a place on the coveted Max Thabiso Edkins Climate Ambassador Program. Bevon Chadel Charles is building one farm at a time across the Caribbean, transforming agriculture and empowering communities. Next up, we have Marcine Taylor Brown, Director Principal, Jamaica. Marcine is the Director Principal of one of the largest heart and NSTA trust institutions in Jamaica and has employed as a TVET practitioner at the institutional, supervisory, and senior management levels for more than 18 years. She holds a Master of Business Administration degree in Human Resource Management and a Bachelor of Science degree in Hotel and Restaurant Management, among numerous professional certificates. As a Maxwell certified team member, she contributes to people development through speaking, training, coaching, and mentoring opportunities. She is a member of the UNESCO Univa community of TVET leaders and a Press Seek certified change practitioner. Marcine believes that a synergistic team produces optimal results and as such values health and wellness initiatives and promotes a reasonable balance of work and play among those she leads. Next, we have Dario Walcott, Technical Officer and Lead Officer, World Skills Barbados. Dario Walcott has been working in education and training since 2013. When he joined the TVET Council Barbados as a technical officer, his passion for education training steered him to earn a Caribbean Vocational Qualification Level 4 in training and assessment. Dario is a certified assessor and master assessor and is also trained internal and external verifier. In 2016, Dario became the chair of the local organizing committee for the World Skills Barbados and has successfully led 5 national competitions. He was jury president in 2017 at World Skills Abu Dhabi and was appointed vice chair of the World Skills America Technical Committee in 2019. Dario recently completed his MBA in Leadership and Innovation with Edinburgh Napier University, Scotland, with his research project focusing on implementation of innovation in TVET systems. Last but by no means least, Ms. Nisa Suepaul, Curriculum Coordinator, Trinidad and Tobago. Nisa Suepaul is the Acting Curriculum Coordinator, Ministry of Education, Trinidad and Tobago. At the secondary level, she taught for 14 years, during which she also served as Dean and Head of Department. Nisa's extensive educational experience includes a Bachelor of Science degree in Economics, a Bachelor of Laws, a postgraduate diploma in Education, Educational Administration, and a Master of Education in Educational Studies. Her commitment to national duty includes serving on various state boards and as cabinet appointed member on various committees, including the National Advisory Committee on the Youth Development and Apprenticeship Centers and the National Advisory Committee on Education. Nisa is very passionate about board activities and international traveling. I also wish to introduce our esteemed moderator for today, Dr. Marcia Ro Amandi. Dr. Amandi is the Senior Director, Standards, Curriculum, Learning Resource Development at Heart Trust NT. Ms. Ro Amandi has an extensive background in technical vocational education and training, and I'm sure during the course of this panel discussion, all of this will be shed to light. So I would now like to hand you over to Dr. Amandi.
A warm welcome, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. It's good to have you on board, joining us for this very important conversation. It's a bit cloudy here in Jamaica. It seems as if we may have rains later. So I hope you're comfortable wherever you are, given this heat. It is said that the most important factor for quality TVET is the competence of the teacher or the instructor. UNESCO Univoc, recognizing this, has aptly titled the focus of World Youth Skills Day as Skilling Teachers, Trainers, and Youth for a Transformative Future. In 2014, the United Nations General Assembly declared July 15th as World Youth Skills Day. It celebrates the strategic importance of equipping young people with skills for employment, for decent work, and entrepreneurship. Since then, it has been a wonderful opportunity to dialogue between young people, TVET practitioners, employers, firms, policymakers, and development partners. UNESCO's 2015 recommendations for TVET recognizes the crucial role of teaching staff in assuring TVET quality and relevance, and states that we need to have policies and frameworks to ensure qualified and high quality staff. And this includes our teachers, or instructors, or trainers, or tutors, or managers, or administrators, leaders, career guidance staff, and others. The recommendation further asks member states to build the necessary institutional capacities to ensure the relevance of TVET to current and evolving needs in the world of work at the national level, at the regional level, and internationally. Today, the discussion will explore good practices in boosting the capacity of teachers and trainers to respond to the emerging needs of societies and economies, and to facilitate a smooth transition of young people from school to work. Our first speaker will be Miss Bevon Chadel Charles, and she will be coming to us from Grenada. So this is really a regional joined up event. She'll be taking us through the role of trainers in fostering innovation and entrepreneurship. So over to you, Miss Bevon Chadel Charles, and she has a presentation to share with us. We will have the presentations, colleagues, online, and then we will have question and answers. So, Ms. Charles?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, our listening public. Thank you. Good morning. So my responsibility is to shed some light from a person who have gained knowledge and experiences from trainers. So I'm going to shed some light on trainers' role in fostering innovation and entrepreneurship. Trainers' role is very crucial in fostering innovation and the entrepreneurship mindset. They support individuals in developing the skill set and the knowledge, and also they, as trainers, inspire and empower trainees and youth to take on risk and embrace creativity. For me, as an entrepreneur, I think one of my earliest experiences, where I think I was in Form 3 at the time, I was a very talkative student. And I remember my principal calling me into the office, and I thought I would have been punished for something. But she said to me, go to this place and go to this time. And I was like, kind of confused. But I did went. And when I went, I was surrounded by older students. But it was a response, it was an experience now to get involved with public speaking. And that's how I got in the role of youth parliament. And I spent that 7 years learning, building confidence. But if she had not seen something in me that I was not, I was not aware of, I might not have been in this position today. So I think one of the critical roles as trainers or teachers is able to identify something in our students that they often overlook. Can you turn to the next slide, please? Thank you. So fostering entrepreneurship, I think it's about creating creating a supportive and nurturing environment where students can learn and think and play and thrive. In that environment enables them to take on risk and creativity. It could also provide practical experiences and opportunities for entrepreneurs to explore. And this is something that we have to push really for our students who are in the school setting to really understand that the world is changing. And the normal roles of careers, we need to start to be diverse in terms of pursuing career options. And I think as an entrepreneur, there's no clear path or no guidelines or no rule book to which we have to follow to start something and to grow. It's always a hurdle. But if we have trainers who have created things, who have been involved in that entrepreneurial space, therefore they can able to relate and be able to just bring forth a different kind of knowledge that's able to students to spark that innovative mindset. And this is what we need. So trainers definitely have their responsibility is to teach critical thinking and problem solving and be able to adapt in various changing environments. And of course, going back to the traditional way of education, our communication and building teamwork and all of that stuff is very crucial. But also as a trainer or a teacher, you're able to help instill motivation, to help build confidence, and to help steer students or youth in a path that, as I said, often they would not look at. And I'm speaking here from experience. If I was not called upon, if I was not given the opportunities, I would not have been as a proactive person as I am today. And I'm often creating my own space, creating my opportunities, because to be honest, nothing was handed to me. But because of that experience of a principal seeing, well, something in Bevon that Bevon did not identify for herself as a 13-year-old, I would definitely not be in this position today. One of the key thing I would like to emphasize on is trainers need to really advocate for project-based learning. I think that's for me how I really learned that hands-on experience, because it's a powerful approach for entrepreneurs. And as youths who thinking of going about that route, it's also encouraged them to explore their passions and their interests. Because when you are in that space, there's no answers given to you. There's no answers given to you. And often you have to seek those answers and seek those solutions. So the project-based approach helps you to be hands-on. It helps you to create teams with diversity, where sometimes you cannot mesh, but because of a common objective, you're able to come together and able to bring forth something that is beneficial, something that's creative, something that can solve a lot of problems in our region. One such example for me, a couple of months ago, UNESCO launched a community leadership and entrepreneurship workshop, and I was one of the fortunate participants for that. But while there, even though as an entrepreneur and I have built businesses since in 2016, I've started several companies, it opened my eyes, because often I'm not able to articulate the challenges or even the passion that I wish I have. what got me to be entrepreneur in the first place. But that training helped me now to be able to form that communicative mindset and able now to teach other youths who are thinking about getting involved in entrepreneurship. That's all right. That's all right. Technology again. Okay. So because of the training, it was refreshing enough for me as an entrepreneur because the trainer, and I come back to trainers being in the space, they have experience of creating something and creating a business or training other entrepreneurs. I was able to bond with that trainer because she understood firsthand the challenges that I was facing as an entrepreneur. Starting something small, creating a team to scale it, being competitive, being able to look what is happening globally and able to adapt my business to that, adapt myself as a person to able to evolve. And she understood that. So if you have trainers who are able to bond with you that way, who have that hands-on experience of creating something, I think that is what we need to push. So as I said, the training opened my eyes and it actually helped as well to shed that imposter syndrome that a lot of us do have when we start in our businesses and so forth. But the project-based learning, in that training, it was a three-day workshop, but we were able to form groups, form teams. Well, in my case, we were able to establish 2 companies, and those companies were looking at alternative feed manufacturing and stuff like that. But in that setting itself, enabled us to think big and to think that our dreams, no matter how big it is, no matter how far-fetched it can be achievable if we have the passion and we have the drive. And that is one of the things that trainers need to able to emphasize. So definitely I have to stress on the need for trainers to shift to multi-project-based learning as well. But also trainers need to, and I think is in the institution in which trainers come from, they need to able to create an ecosystem built on providing guidance and resources and mentorship throughout not just the project cycle, but throughout that youth's journey to keep it, keep abreast of what they're doing, to reach out to say, what challenge are you facing? How can I assist you? That has really enabled me to grow my network. I'm able to look back at trainers who have helped me before and said, you know what, I'm at this difficult point in my life. How do I overcome it? Do you have advice? And I think that is very crucial as we go on developing. Even in our school settings itself, I think our teachers need to look at what is happening globally, what is happening around us globally, and be able to communicate that to students who are not looking at the traditional route, who are looking, in my case, looking for difficulties to pursue. Because if I wanted the easier route, I think I would just have gone on the normal route of a career. But I chose a field that has a lot of challenges, and sometimes it's adversity more than you get success. So we need trainers to really to drive that home and to ensure that they're able to encourage our students to think and to play and to make mistakes. I think we have lost that passion to think over things, to explore, and it's that exploration in which we're able to create and to form answers to many of the solutions that we need in our Caribbean region. I'll give you a personal example. My brother dropped out of school at 16 years old, really a young man. He was coding since he was 10 years old, but he dropped out of secondary school because he felt that the education system was not able to help him because he's surrounded by entrepreneurs. Both my parents are entrepreneurs, myself, so he's surrounded by that. So I started going, I said, what it is that you wanted to do? Where do you want to go with your life? And he said to me, I don't want to just start a business, but I want to continue learning. But I want to be involved. I want to be surrounded by people who have created things, people who are leading the charge in creating the solutions to the problems that's facing our society. And if there are students right now in our Caribbean region who have that same passion and drive, but they are locked into the educational system that is, of course, is suffocating them. how do we then able to create an environment to where we can pull them out and harvest that passion and to ensure that they have the necessary resources to able to take those ideas and make it into a reality. So we have to find that system. We have to create some sort of ecosystem to where that they can strive. But as I end up closing to say, I have benefited a lot of mentors and trainers who understood the vision that I was trying to build, who understood the difficulties that I will encounter, and they were able to articulate that and to able to show me the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Charles, for articulating this very important role of the teacher, one that the instructor, the teacher, one that we do not often give highlight enough in terms of instilling passion, motivation, taking our trainees and our students through adversity and helping them to see the diamonds in themselves. That is a critical role as a teacher shows duty of care and as a teacher nurtures. And your stories are very telling, very profound. It's the role of many teachers in helping our trainees and our students to realize their potential and to aspire for their dreams. Important roles of the teacher that we do not emphasize enough. So thank you for those stories, and thank you for speaking from the heart and emphasizing the role of the teacher in terms of entrepreneurship and innovation. Colleagues, hold your questions, your suggestions, and your comments. We're now going to go to hear from Mrs. Marcine Taylor Brown, Director Principal from Garmex, and she's from Jamaica. And she's going to share with us from her context some of the strategies that can support teacher development. Mrs. Taylor Brown, please go ahead.
Dr. Monday, good morning all, good morning. My fellow panelists, should I say Ira Jamaica? Should I say that, Dr. Monday?
Yes.
All right.
Culture is
yes.
TVET is also part of TVET, isn't it? So Ira Jamaica.
Definitely so. Definitely so. Thank you, Dr. Amonde. And I would have listened to my fellow panelist, Bevon, and I'm just nodding my head because some of the points that she raised, those are the exact points that, in my preparation, I thought of as we consider the preparation of the TVET facilitator. So the trainer's role in transforming the Caribbean youth and a broader theme, skilling the teachers, trainers, and youth for a transformative future. And as I prepared, I looked at transformative, and I really appreciate the definition from the Cambridge Dictionary because it says causing or able to cause an important and lasting change in someone and something. That latter part is the part that's critical for me, able to cause a lasting someone or something. And I came upon a quote: if we want transformed futures, we must be transformed ourselves. We must see the need for transformation and want to be transformed. So as I consider the TVET facilitator, the TVET facilitator has to first be transformed if they are going to be a part of the transformative process, changing the lives of youth in the Caribbean and on the global platform. Albert Einstein observed that the significant problem we face cannot be solved by the level of thinking we were at when we created them. So the question is asked of me, what has been done in my country to support teacher or instructor development? And as I ponder the question, I note critical to the transformation of the TVET system and critical to create a transformative future for the youth is the center of that is teacher development. While there are other factors to be considered, and yes, the government of Jamaica would have considered the other factors and would have implemented policies, programs, and projects to mitigate those factors, at the center of it is teacher development. What are some of those other factors? Financing, legislation, curriculum, partnerships, and we may even talk about curriculum somehow in the discussion, because when we talk about transforming youth, upskilling, upgrading the teacher, developing the teacher, then it starts with the curriculum that we would have developed to support such a transformation. Now, with the various challenges in TVET, and in a UNESCO 2015 report, it stated that among the challenges that restrict the TVET system from unleashing its transforming potential are underinvestment, low social perception, weak analysis and foresight, and the tendency for a reactive response that lead to immediate tactical reforms instead of strategic reforms. And these challenges have not changed much. We are in 2023 and they have not changed much. But in fact, we were faced since 2020 with new challenges from the COVID-19 pandemic, but we had new opportunities to transform teacher development and also youth development. We were all there, we were a part of it, where we had to shift suddenly to online delivery, even when we were not fully prepared. In my organization, we would have started a dialogue about digitalization, and we would have implemented strategies. We had our plan and started putting programs in place. But I tell you, we were nowhere ready when the COVID-19 pandemic hit. However, we quickly pivoted, and that was the story of many other countries. Now the Heart NSTA, the vision of the Heart NSTA, a globally competitive workforce impacting nation building through human capital development. And last year we celebrated our 40th year anniversary of transforming lives. And we would have been doing that over the past 40 years with new programs being implemented. One of our main institution, Heart, has 26 institutions and more than 80 community training interventions. But the Vocational Training Development Institute is charged with the responsibility to develop programs for teacher development in various areas. VTDI has the School of Education and Professional Studies Department with more than 8 programs ranging from postgraduate diplomas, bachelor's, NVQJs in assessment, and also pre-college program that supports the teacher development. So if it is that you do not have the requisite qualifications to enroll into a bachelor's program or a postgraduate program, the pre-collegiate program allows you the opportunity for a year to develop those competencies and be matriculated into the higher level program. Now, over the last financial year ending March 31st, VTDI would have recorded over 2,389 certifications. And VTDI, through the development program, also support the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, because we can't separate ourselves from the two. So although Heart, the largest national training agency and also responsible for TVET in Jamaica, we are on an agency of the Office of the Prime Minister. We work closely with the Ministry of Education to develop teachers and also to develop youth. One of the departments within the Heart Trust NSTA is the Capacity Building Unit, and that unit is so designed and to specifically target our external partners, private and public providers to develop their staff for TVET. Our reach is also expanded to other CARICOM countries. We would have recently over the year participated in the community of learning with Turks and Caicos and other islands. We would have provided assessment services and also training services for facilitators. So HEART has expanded its reach far and wide. In recent time, in order to ensure that we have the facilitators to satisfy the emerging skills, HEART in this year, new financial year, has embarked on an initiative, Teach for Heart. Now that initiative, what it does is that for persons who are not at the required level, say a diploma or a bachelor's, but they may be lab technicians in the system, demonstrators, they may have worked in the industry, they have other qualifications, but they do not have teacher qualification, but they show the aptitude, they are interested in teaching. HEART has taken on this initiative to develop these individuals. We have recruited our first cohort of 30 persons to start the training development. Once this development is finished over the 2-year period, they will acquire a level 5 competence, and it can allow them to matriculate into a bachelor's program if they so desire. But they will be equipped with all the skills, knowledge, and attitude, all the competencies required for them to deliver on the TVET program, specifically dubbed Train for HEART. Another of the initiatives that we use to support teacher development is the establishment of community of practices. Now, the community of practices are learning communities where master teachers, facilitators, trainers support each other in the learning to each other, for lesson planning, for crafting objectives, for discussing and deliberating on methodologies and strategies that would best suit the delivery of their sector. Also, HEART, with the human resource development and training unit in HR is responsible for staff development, and the facilitators being our largest cohort of staff, because that is the training is the business that we are in. So with the facilitators being the largest number of HEART staff, the Human Resource Development Department is very keen and strategic in organizing developmental activities and training for the staff. As a matter of fact, HEART puts...
2 more minutes, Miss 2 more minutes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, as a matter of fact, HEART puts such a premium on human resource development, that instructor development, that each institution, each location carries on the balance scorecard a key performance indicator that speaks to recommending instructors to be trained and upskilled in the emerging skills. So Dr. Amonde, I am going to stop there, and I know that other points that I have may come up in the discussion. So I'll stop there and allow my colleagues to go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Taylor-Brown, for so extensively describing the various structures that facilitate teacher development, and for emphasizing the critical role of the VTDI, established in 1970 with the major purpose of training and upgrading teachers. So thank you for taking us through. Definitely, if TVET ought to be transformative, then we will need to have our teachers and instructors who can help to bring about this transformation. So, and also I've seen where this current initiative Teach for Heart, where we are taking those with technical skills from across the institutions and upgrading their pedagogical and technical skills so that we can respond to some of our new, emerging, and existing areas. So thank you so very much for that extensive presentation, Mrs. Taylor Brown. Okay, we are now going to have Mr. Dario Walcott, and he is coming to us from Barbados. And he's going to be looking at the young people, the youth, and how we can better engage them in the teaching learning process. I happen to know Dario from World Skills, and World Skills is people because it's really the medium through which we carry the message that skill changes lives. And so Dario has done a lot of work with the young people in World Skills. And so it's very apt that he will be able to take us through this discussion about how better we can involve the young people in the teaching learning process. Okay, Dario, so over to you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Amonde. Um, Happy World Youth Skills Day to everyone, and specifically our Caribbean youth. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this morning on, as Dr. Amonde said, how we can better engage our youth in the 21st century learning environment. Next slide, please. I want to begin by giving a definition of engagement. And the Australian Council of Educational Research note that engagement is students' involvement with activities and conditions likely to generate high quality learning. And I want us to pay attention to the word activities as well as conditions. And listening to Bevon and Marcine earlier, it seems like we're all singing the same tune. I think in the Caribbean, our trainers and our administrators, we need to create a culture of continuing professional development, lifelong learning. We need to encourage lifelong learning. I'll give you a quote from William Pollard, and he said, "Learning and innovation go hand in hand. The arrogance of success is to think that what you did yesterday will be sufficient for tomorrow." We are trainers and administrators as well. We need to understand that times are changing, and what we did 10 years ago, 15 years ago will no longer fly. We need to make sure that we remain current with our knowledge and skills so we can better engage our Caribbean youth. Next slide, please. The research suggests that there are basically four main domains that affect engagement in the learning environment. And of course, this learning environment has evolved over the years where there's a blend of the physical and the virtual space. And going back to the definition, we speak about the activities. And I heard Bevon speak about the applied learning, the opportunity for students to get a chance to apply the theory that they learn in the classroom. We have internships there. I know some schools are trying to do school to work programs where you have an opportunity to learn in the classroom and then on the job training. There's service learning, some community service where those learning outcomes or learning objectives can be practiced and put in place in a service role. Global citizenship we're talking about. And even within the classroom, our trainers could engage students in the practicum and creative works. We could have field tours, engaging them in learning. But again, driving home, in order for our trainers to do these things and to encourage our youth, you need to make sure that you're current with your knowledge and skills. There's the technology out there, virtual and augmented reality. So if you have a challenge explaining a difficult concept, you can use the virtual or an augmented reality that does that experiential learning that you can better explain and the concept to our students. Encourage them in extracurricular activities and learning communities like the language clubs. If you learning Spanish and French in the classroom and you get the theory, then you have the opportunity to, practice at your language club. I go back to the applied learning where you can have student exchange programs, immersion. We know that's one way that that person's better learn. And of course, the gamification software. This came out a lot during the lockdown, during the pandemic. You had some like Kahoot, and they're a dime a dozen where you have the leaderboards, their points. They can compete against their classmates. They can complete class versus class, and this helps to engage them. And these four domains are actually intertwined and impacted, because then those things start to motivate students, motivate our Caribbean youth. And our trainers, I think, also need to, as I said, driving home, lifelong learning, interpersonal skills. Gone are the days where you just see yourself, I am the teacher, I am the trainer, I am the instructor, whatever I say goes. Um, the youth these days, this generation, they're not like that. You can't just speak to them like that. So what are your interpersonal skills, your leadership skills? You need to see yourself as a leader in this learning environment. How do I get this group of students to achieve these objectives, these learning objectives? How do we move you from here to there? Your leadership skills. Competence. We all know that people gravitate towards persons who are competent. You know what you're talking about. You know what you're doing. Students are then engaged more when persons are competent and they know what they're doing. And then we move on to the structure and the culture of the learning environment. Are the trainers approachable? Can I come to you and ask you a question? Can I, how can we discuss what's happening in the classroom and even in the virtual environment? So if the trainers don't know how to navigate this virtual environment and the new learning management systems, so there are discussion forum that the learning management system will have. But suppose I don't want to speak in front of the entire class. How can I connect to you in a virtual environment? I know that some online schools do academic hours, but can there be contact hours where students can directly engage the trainers? And then, of course, trainers need to be equipped with some emotional intelligence. Understand how what you do affects others. Understand how what you do can engage and motivate, again, your young people in your learning environment. And we also need to understand that there are things outside of the classroom or outside of the learning environment that tend to affect our Caribbean youth. Social factors, what's going on at home, things going on even within the learning environment. How are they being able to interact with their peers? Our trainers need to also see themselves as mentors. The stories are out there plenty. You can hear about persons who fell in love with cooking because their home economics teacher brought across the content so lovely. Bevon gave the example earlier of her principal who was able to see a light in her and give her a chance to shine that light. Our trainers need to be equipped with those kinds of skills. So you are a mentor, and then as well, you are also a counselor. As I said, you have issues, students have issues. How do you get the best out of these students? And what our trainers also need to know is that you don't have to be an expert in everything. Create a space within your learning environment where experts can come in and speak to the youth, right? Create that space that you don't have to know everything, but call on the other resources within industry, call on the other resources within even the classroom, the school, or whatever that students can gain from. So again, as I said, being cognizant of the time. Our Caribbean trainers, our youth, we need to create a culture of continuing professional development. We need our trainers to make sure that they're current in knowledge and skills. We talk about digitalization, we talk about digital literacy, all of these things we need to be familiar with so that we can engage or better engage our Caribbean youth. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Dario. You have said it very well. And again, you have emphasized the soft skills of the teachers and the trainers. It's just more than being subject matter experts, but really caring for those in our charge, really instilling in them passions. And as I said, that is often not emphasized. Being mentors, being counselors, and as was said by one of our presenters, our previous presenters, having an awareness of what is happening globally so that you can bring that and infuse in the teaching. So thank you so very much. And you have emphasized the very important issue of emotional intelligence, even as we deal with our charges, with our trainees and with our students. Some very valid points there that I hope we will be able to explore, to extend in our question and answer session. Now we are going to be hearing from Miss Nisa Suepaul, and Miss Suepaul is based in Trinidad. So we are going to have the Trinidadian perspective, and it is going to look at what is happening around us that's in our context, that's forcing us to change the role of the teacher and the trainer. How do we respond to the many changes? It is said that change is constant. We have digitalization that was mentioned, Industry 4.0, new and emerging areas are coming on. Our trainees their profiles are also changing. So many of us have to be focusing more on those that are considered at risk. So what is it that is happening that's forcing us to look at our roles as teachers and trainers and to make adjustments in order to better meet the needs of our trainees and our students? So, Ms. Nisa, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amondi. Good morning to everyone. And I must say, Dr. Amondi, after I listened to my fellow presenters, experiencing the same thing, regardless of where we are in the Caribbean, and we are implementing more or less the same strategies. And I think that is excellent for our Caribbean youth. Now, my focus today is on what trends or changing dynamics in my country are requiring a change in the trainer's response. And there are four basic areas that I would like to focus on today. Next slide, please. So these areas include the availability of technology, skill requirements, patriotism, and the whole idea of focusing on the trainer. So with respect to technology, we have technology that continues to evolve. And in Trinidad and Tobago, we know, just like it was in the rest of the world, COVID-19 and that pandemic catapulted us into becoming dependent on technology. And with that greater dependence on technology, we have to now focus on how it can facilitate or augment learning. So the changing dynamic is all about hybrid learning. This is where students can attend class in person or virtually at the same time, and how our trainers can respond to that. We also have a blended learning, so that students are in class, they are physically doing activities, but they also have access online so that they can access resources, they know what the learning objectives are, and what are the dates for assessments. We also now are focusing a lot more on self-paced education offerings so that learners can progress through the material at their own speed and on their own schedule, because the technology allows them to get a student pack so they know what the learning objectives are and when the assessments are going to take place. We know also that nationally we are looking at a remote work policy, and what is being proposed for that policy will impact our future generation, our future learners, our future entrance into the job environment. And then as trainers, how are we changing how we approach those students, seeing that their work environment may be completely different from the ones that we are accustomed to and the ones that exist currently. We are also seeing a lot more accessing of artificial intelligence programs. Take, for instance, ChatGPT. And then trainers would have to consider, is it my role to continue to provide content and develop skills, or is it that I now have to show how technology can assist with the content and skill acquisition? So a lot for our traders to keep in mind and to focus on in terms of adapting. We also have a lot of focus now on online testing. Many schools are using online testing, and of course the regional examining body is moving towards more online testing. So our trainers, our teachers have to be cognizant of that. And as Dario would have spoken about as well, gamification. Very, very big on the scene. Many opportunities to augment the learning and the teaching process. And we would find that our trainers and instructors, they have many apps, many programs that they can use in their training. We also have multiple opportunities to access. So of course, there's the official school system, but we also have things like vacation revision program, after school programs, part-time program for continuing education. So our trainers have to keep in mind that with these multiple opportunities, how do we then have a standardization in terms of what is offered? The second major change has to do with skill requirements and focus on 21st century skills. Of course, entrepreneurship, innovation, and creativity is the big one. Gearing up to ensure we have that ideal Caribbean person, and our national development goals also focus heavily on entrepreneurship and innovation. It means that the trainee has to be trained in a way to be a job creator versus a job seeker, and what would be the impact therefore on how we approach training. There is a lot of focus as well on research and development. There is so much information available. So our students now, just like Dario would have alluded to, they are given directives as to what is to be covered. They have all of the links for their resources. They know what their learning objectives are. So they can massage the material and research it on their own time. And then they're coming back to the classroom using the flipped classroom approach, where they will now have discussions with their peers and therefore able to better interpret the information that they would have researched. Also, there is a lot of emphasis within the classroom as well as in the world of work on group work and collaborative work. That soft skill that we want to ensure that all of our trainees have so that they can fit well into the working environment. And with that group work, learning to work with others, and also use of portfolios and project work that involves group work. There is a lot of movement as well towards a bilingual society and emphasis on languages of our heritage. So as trainers, we have to keep in mind that that would be one of our objectives, and that is what is happening in the world. Lots of emphasis as well in terms of the change in dynamics on environmental preservation, and in using examples in training or in classrooms with students. How do we ensure our students develop that skill to want to protect the environment, and the whole idea of intergenerational equity? And of course, we are accustomed as teachers and trainers in using Bloom's taxonomy as we move through lessons or training. We go through the different layers. So remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and then create. And with creation, promoting that whole idea of entrepreneurship and innovation. But we have to now think about taking it one step further, and that step being protection. Because where we have creation based on our innovativeness and our creativity, we also have to know about intellectual property rights. And that is a big thing now in our environment, so that beyond create, we also have to have protect. In our society as well, we are seeing a greater move towards patriotism, ensuring that we embrace our heritage and all aspects of being citizens of our country and citizens of the Caribbean. And that whole idea of cultural transformation. How do we ensure that our trainees and our learners recognize that whole idea of patriotism, and taking it a step further into agriculture, from farm to table? How do we ensure that our students are continuously reminded and are given examples of the need for food security and that focus on agriculture? And finally, another big trend would be that of focus on the trainer. How do we motivate our trainers to continuously want to update their skills in training? And how do we motivate them so they can then motivate the trainees? Also, more and more focus on our trainers in terms of creating authentic learning experiences for our students. And for the trainer, in order to meet all of these requirements, there is a need for lifelong learning. And finally, yes, we want to transform our youth. It means that our trainers need to continuously adapt. But when training takes place, we need to have constant monitoring of how the training is being implemented and evaluation of that training process, so that we can continue to adapt how training is taking place. And currently, there's a lot of focus on that. So thank you so much, Dr. Amandi, and I do look forward to the discussion segment.
Thank you so much, Nisa, for taking us through that and emphasizing the very important areas, the factors that are forcing us to look at ourselves as trainers and to make changes. And we cannot have a discussion during this period without referring to artificial intelligence. And you have highlighted that very well. Talk and Chat GPT, and I'm sure there are others. It's very current now, and it's forcing the trainer, the teacher, to look at their role and what it is. And you emphasize it's not just about the content now, because content is really available everywhere, but it's about the skills that we help to nurture and to develop. So very interesting areas you have emphasized, and the importance of instilling in them confidence as they look around, because the environment is demanding that they create jobs now instead of just going into jobs that may not be readily available. So we have had some very insightful discussions. Our first one with Ms. Charles, we looked at innovation and entrepreneurship and the very important role of the teacher trainer in facilitating that. Then Mrs. Marcine Taylor-Brown took us through the many structures and the many institutions, the focus of teacher development in Jamaica, highlighting very much the role of the VTDI, HR, and the VTDI and HR current program called the Teach at Heart program. And Dario spoke about the importance of attending to the young people as trainers, being approachable, reaching out to them. He gave some very clear categories that we are to pay attention to as we try to get these young people to play a role, recognizing that we can leverage what they come with and that can inform policy and bring about improvements. And Nisa, what you have just touched on, the many dynamics that are causing us to look at our roles as teachers and trainers and to make some changes. So we are at that point now where we can get feedback from our audience. I don't know if we have any questions there on YouTube that we would like to raise. Any questions for the panelists? Anything that you'd like to comment on? We can also put it in the chat, and the YouTube link is available for us to make our comments, to be a part of the discussion, ask the questions. While we try to source that, I will ask one of the first questions of the panelists, and anyone can answer. What are some of the challenges you see for trainers and teachers that they have to be encountering? And how do you think that they can address those challenges? Anyone wants to highlight that, some of the challenges that our trainers may be encountering? And how can we address some of those challenges?
Dr. Amondi, if I may start.
Yes, go ahead, please. Thank you.
So I would say that one of the challenges is a definite lack of motivation. I think the trainers, they need to be more motivated, and I would recommend that there be dedicated time for upskilling for all of our teachers and trainers.
Okay, thank you very much. Dedicated time for upskilling. So you are talking about the importance of embracing lifelong learning for our teachers and trainers. Thank you very much, Nisa. One of the things that we find very important for teachers and trainers is to be current with what the industry is offering. Just to know what to be in touch with their area, to be aware of the current technologies. I know that technologies figure very much in world skills and the latest technologies. So I don't know if you'd like to respond to that, Dario.
Hi. Yes, definitely. I think we need to probably create some policies that would encourage our trainers to be involved in this lifelong learning. So the same way we have internship opportunities for students, why can't our trainers have opportunities in the same organizations and industry during the long vacation and so on that they may have? They may 2 week or 3 week. When, let's take for instance the car dealership, they're getting training on hybrid vehicles or some new technology on the vehicles, we could invite our trainers to those so that they are current with their knowledge as well. So definitely industry involvement, and I would say opportunities for that professional development that Nisa mentioned.
Thank you so much. Would you like to respond to that, Taylor Brown?
Dr. Amondi? Yes, I would like to put forward a comment. First of all, to support what Nisa said, additionally, in terms of the challenges that the facilitators face, I think is the psychosocial issues that they have to treat with, and some are not equipped to treat with them. So the frustration comes in the classroom. They are not patient with the learner to take them through because they themselves are not equipped. So I believe we need to look at strategies. How are we going to equip, not just with the technical skills, but with those competencies to treat with psychosocial? And if it is that the instructors cannot be developed to that level, whom else is going to come in? Because the struggles are real. The struggles are real, and it is impacting the learning environment. I want to jump in and just add to what Dario said in terms of the instructor development, and it's really a plug for heart because we celebrate industry furlough. So the instructional staff are required to do at least minimum 40 hours of industry furlough, exposure in the industry on an annual basis, so that they are up to date on trends and the happenings in the industry, so they can impart it into the training delivery process. We also attend a lot of conferences. I tell you, sometimes when we see the communication, Dr. Amande coming out, we are like, we are all trained out. But it is really for our benefit, our development, and it is for the instructors to embrace the capacity development. Also, a part of the development, additional development that we embrace is study tours. Not as widespread as we would want to now, but we are getting there. But we do embrace, and we send instructors to other countries to see best practices and to take it back and then to share with those that did not have the opportunity to go. So, I mean, the opportunities are wide and varied. We have to embrace them. And I am so happy for this conversation, Dr. Amande. I know we're out of time, so this is my closing remarks. I'm so happy for this conversation, and I think it is a conversation that we need to continue in another space as to how we can share ideas, strategies, and how we can support the teacher, trainer, and the youth for a transformative future.
Thank you so much for that very rich response, Mrs. Taylor Brown. I see Dr. Bevon. I see Miss Bevon Charles. Okay, great things will be coming. Could you just elaborate for us on how we can better support entrepreneurship in our institutions? If you were to give advice to some policymakers as how our teachers and trainers can better support and develop entrepreneurship mindsets among students or trainees, what would you say that would be?
Awesome. Thank you for that question. It's actually something I'm working with right now. The Caribbean Development Bank has put together a group of brilliant innovators in the issue of youth economic development. And one of the challenges we have, what do we do to get the youths the necessary space and resources for them to just go big? And we struggle with that to try to figure out what does that space look like. And I keep coming back and building an ecosystem where there are resources where youths can tap into, there are knowledge, there are mentors, there are network that they could call upon, and there are spaces where they can create things. And when I'm looking in terms of, are there any spaces like that right now? No. In terms of when I first started off as an entrepreneur, it was difficult for me to navigate. How do I get information? How do I get to certain people? And now I have to kind of create that space so other youths can get that access to that. But in terms of policies, I think there is still, in terms of, there's challenges between in theory and practical experiences for a trainer. I think we have to try to ensure that trainers are able to have that hands-on experience of creating things, to be able to reach to the youths. And it's crucial in terms of effective training. But I think in terms of getting to know what the youths need, I think their perspectives is important to understand what it is that they need before we can try to figure out just creating something that might not be related to them. But in terms of policy, I can't think about policies right now for me, but I know starting off as an entrepreneur, it was very difficult to navigate the waters and just taking an idea out of my head and seeing problems around my environment in my communities and knowing that I can create a solution. But there was no clear path to say, okay, I can go from this step, connect with this person, I can be able to buy this. It was very difficult. So I think we need to start putting an environment in place so that these things can be easily accessed, and also the resources are available for any youth. It doesn't matter which community they come from, but that they're able to access it.
Okay, thank you for that, Miss Charles. So it's really having resources and information easily accessible for young people so that they can get what they need to move forward with their dreams and their decisions. And at Heart NSTA Trust, we have programs for young people to get them started. So they are given a grant as soon as they are, some in training, still in training, but some have graduated and they can apply for a grant to get their businesses off the ground. And we also have grants that are a little much more for those who have established businesses. just for the capacity building and the support in moving these businesses forward. So thank you very much for that. As we come towards the end, I just want to ask you to say, as we think about the TVET teacher and the trainer, who should they be? What should their profile, the knowledge that they, and skills and attitudes, because that was also emphasized. Who am I as a person? What do I bring to the space? How can I be approachable? So it's not only the soft skills for our students, but it's also who you are as you really execute this important job, this service of being there to help our young people and our adults too, because TVET is also about adults in realizing their dreams. Could you just briefly say, just sum up, who do you think this trainer, teacher should be? What should their profile, what knowledge and skills and attitudes that they should have to do a good job in really taking our learners or participants to the next level? Could I begin with you, Mrs. Taylor Brown?
Thank you, Dr. Amonde. And as you articulated the question, you mentioned service. I believe ultimately the facilitator has to be service oriented. Because if the facilitator doesn't have that passion for service, then the task is going to be an uphill battle. I believe the facilitator needs to be a self-leader. They have to lead themselves first before they can lead a classroom of TVET learners, before they can lead a classroom of youth, before they can impact the community training interventions. I believe that is very critical. And as I prepared for the webinar, Dr. Monday, I came across a document, a research that I had done in 2017, and I made a presentation at the TVET conference. But one thing that jumped out at me was the pillars of learning. And when I looked at it and aligned it to the profile of the ideal Jamaican citizen in the Vision 2030 plan, I see clearly how it aligned. The four pillars: learning to know, learning to do, learning to be, learning to live together. And we would have come across them in a number of UNESCO documents. But I just want to pick out just one part: learning to be. And in the Vision 2030 profile of the educated Jamaican, it said, be well-rounded, agile of mind, able to adjust to different situations, responsible and able to make decisions. And in a nutshell, just that one section I'll pull out to say, I believe that it would sum up the TVET facilitator. And also
thank you so much, Mrs. Taylor Brown. Thank you. Learning to be. Miss Nisa, Suepaul, anything you could just briefly highlight?
Thank you, Dr. Amondi. I would say that trainer would be a lifelong learner who is a leader, technologically evolving, embraces stakeholder engagement, and models the expected behavior.
Wow, models the behavior. Thank you so very much for that. Dario?
Yes, I'm going to echo all the previous panelists, but I'm going to say this person needs to be an authentic leader and one who emphasizes transparency, genuineness, and honesty in fostering their relationships. And one major skill that our trainers need to have is digital literacy. That is the ability to find, evaluate, and communicate information and create content online, especially moving forward in the 21st century learning environment.
Thank you so much for that word, Daryl, authentic. I would let us just leave with that word, colleagues, and we have to bring that quality in the classroom. Our students know when we are not being authentic. they pick up on these things. So thank you so much for that. Ms. Charles?
I will end with enthusiasm. Trainers should exhibit genuine enthusiasm to teach and to learn and to share their knowledge. Also, empathy is another thing as well, that unique needs and challenges that youths might come across. They need to be able to, in a way, to acknowledge that and to relate to that and to share their perspective and their own experiences and be willing to share genuinely. Also, active listening. Often, when you have been in situations where you have trainers who come with their own perspective and they are not listening to the trainees. And think active listening is what we really needed as well, to be able to build that bond and to build that that connection. So that you can always call them up and always feel safe, that you have a safe space where you can reach out to this person. So those are the three things I will end with.
Thank you so much, Ms. Charles. Approachable, empathy, active listening. Very key nuggets there. So I think we have come to the end. Do we have any final question online? I'm not seeing any. Nothing there? Nari from YouTube? Okay. Somebody said, I don't know if this was said earlier. I'm not able to read it. It has gone off. Let me see. I don't know if this was said earlier. I want to add the importance of forging communities of practice. It's also necessary for TVET trainers in transforming our youth, as it will improve their knowledge and skills base for delivery. This is in particular as we look at TVET teachers for the future and what will be required for the future of TVET. Excellent point. I'm not able to see who said that. The name is not showing, but that is clearly forging communities of practice where we are beginning to learn from our peers. We have now come to an end. It has really been a privilege moderating this, listening from you, learning and being reminded of what a successful TVET teacher trainer ought to be and to do. As one who has spent quite a lot of my years in teacher development, and I'm a trained teacher, it's my first job, my passion. This is an area that is very important to me. And let us continue the discussion, colleagues, as we develop our trainers and teachers, because that is how we will transform those who come in our charge. That is how we will help to bring about transformation. So I'm now going to hand over to Anisha Walcott, there in Trinidad, who is going to bring it all together and leave us with some key reflections that we can further take, strengthen, explore, and build on as we continue this conversation. Anisha?
Thank you, Dr. Amandi. Well, you summed it up quite eloquently. I don't think I need to repeat what you would have said, but of course you will get the feedback from me. So I really want to extend our gratitude to Dr. Amandi, our moderator, for taking us through this session, and to our distinguished group of experts for your contribution. Together, let us embark on this journey of developing our youths, as you all spoke about, and work towards a future where these young people are equipped, empowered, and prepared to excel and lead in the global arena. I really loved how you all would have summed up those final remarks. Who am I, and what do you expect of a trainer and teacher? I also want to thank you all, the viewing and listening audience. Please be reminded that you can view this discussion and other previous webinars on NTA's YouTube channel. So if you would have missed any of those critical points that were discussed today, you have an opportunity to see it again. We also encourage you to subscribe to our channel, like, share, and these webinars. If you wish to send us feedback or suggestions for other webinars, send us an email at webinar@ntatt.org. I am Anisha Courage Walcott, reminding you to look out for further communication from our team, including the link from this session's webinar. Do have a great rest of day and an enjoyable weekend. Thank you very much.